All right. Well, let's hop into WTF did we just watch?
Speaking of the naked now, hello.
Yeah, we almost got a little bit of it now. Let's start with Jason Roy Gaston. What WTF did we just watch?
So, this was what, the third episode of TNG,
I think it was
the
second.
second?
Code of Honor might be third.
Yeah.
Well, that's a controversy. You could be second or third depending on which streaming service you're watching.
Yeah, that's
okay.
true.
Well, it's an early episode. Let's just say that. I think it was a little bit early to have a let's strip everybody's inhibitions and see what really makes these characters tick episode, because what we got were basically every guy on the ship was going through an existential crisis while every woman on the ship just got really, really horny. And I don't think the show did any favors this early on by basically doing a remake of a Those Old Scientists episode. And
now, is it your dog or my dog?
That is my daughter's dog. That is Miss Moby. My daughter went with her boyfriend to go shopping and left the dog here, and the dog is having an existential crisis. So the dog has better writing than the women in this episode. And I'm not saying that as a slight against Denise Crosby or Gates McFadden or Marina Sirtis. I'm saying that as a slight against the writers.
Yeah,
I just noticed that as I was watching it. It's just, these men. Geordi's having this crisis about his eyes. Wesley's having this crisis about inadequacy, and he's needing to show out. And Yar's horny, and Crusher's horny, and that's about it. That's all. That's their only character trait, is that they just want to bang everybody.
Yeah, it was super weird, except for Barbara, the engineer.
Yes, the engineer who appeared in this episode and then we never saw again.
Yeah, McDougal died on the way back to her home planet.
She was the no nonsense officer that we needed. Her and Worf. That should have just been the McDougal and Worf show.
Worf didn't get affected either.
No, he did not. He did not. Could you imagine if he did though? Because I think Worf would have been totally he'd been like a cat in heat. He'd be rubbing up against the walls.
Jesus, I remember Jace. You had a stock one of him, the dog,
yeah, but I didn't really want to replay that. But should have been pretty accurate.
Yeah, Jace, WTF did we just?
Well, I want to expand on a couple of things Jason said. Okay, yes, the first thing I noticed is how horrible the writing was for the women, especially Tasha Yar. It is inexcusable, even for back then, what they did to that character. So you're taking the security officer, somebody that is in charge of making sure everyone's safe, and you turn her into a slut once she drinks.
Yeah.
That is not appropriate on any level. And it goes to show that the men writing this episode had no... I'm shocked it even got through the script stage, even back then. We're talking 1987 here. We're not talking 1922. It wasn't excusable then. It's definitely not excusable now, and definitely not excusable then.
Was this written by an actual writer, or did Roddenberry's lawyer write this one too?
He might have. But, I mean, the other thing is this episode comes from a place of fear. Fear that they didn't trust in the material and the show that they already had. So they went out of their way to attach it to a Star Trek episode. They try to say it's a homage. I go, bull dust. It ain't a homage at all. You were scared, so you wrote this. But it is, it's an attempt at comedy. But how are you supposed to find all the characters funny and hilarious when we barely even know them? Most of the time when you're watching this, you can tell that Brett Spiner hasn't quite figured out Data yet. You can tell Geordi hasn't figured out. Yeah, no, all of the actors are just starting to get to know their characters, and no, it's silly. Mind you, the idea of them getting drunk and all that would maybe work in a throwaway filler episode for season 4 or 5, maybe, but it would need heavy rewriting. Mind you, I do want to say, in all honesty, if that was me and I got infected, I'm totally this guy. I'm just that guy.
Oh,
I just
he was
turn
so
into a kid
happy.
and I'm throwing chips in the air. And
He
I'm
was so
loving life.
Yeah, he was a happy little fella, wasn't he?
It really was. I wonder whatever happened to him.
That's
what
the
happened
big
to his
problem with the big problem with the episode is we don't actually explore, as you know, like we all act differently on alcohol. If it was me, Tasha Yar, I would have made her super aggressive. This is a woman who is chock full of PTSD. Right? She even mentions in her seduction speech to Data how she was attacked by gang rapists, which is a bizarre line to be saying in a seduction scene anyway. But I would have made her angry and violent because that's what you would have done with the character. You would have gone, hey, man, she's the real deal. Don't piss her off and don't get her drunk because she's going to kick your ass. Yeah, that was the major problem. The rest of it felt like goofy.
Yeah, that's true. For me, one of the major problems I had, what the heck, Data? Like, how does a robot, a synthetic, being affected? He says, yes, I have pores too, but still weird. The positronic matrix isn't a brain because I figured this was a brain-affected issue. So for Data to be affected was just threw me off. And I thought that was a bizarre thing. I don't know if you guys have anything that you want to talk about.
I kind of had the idea that the writers were kind of thinking at this point that Data was like a biomechanical android. Maybe that's what was going on, but it's such a strange thing to hang such a major plot point on and then just drop it like, it's okay. He was just pretending.
Yeah.
And the other issue with that saying is once he's drunk, all his inhibitions go, therefore he's emotionally free. Data doesn't have emotions.
Exactly.
So there's a big flaw just in that conceit as well.
Yeah. It was a very weird episode, but the Captain and Beverly Crusher, even though Crusher when they go back and she's like, oh, it was on the Enterprise, I'll just make this and we'll fix it and it'll be instantaneous, everything's fixed and everybody's fine. And then Geordi wasn't fixed and Geordi kept getting that weird, he was just getting those weird sweats. So I just thought it was a weird.
He was maggoted, mate. He was maggoted. Yeah. He'd been on the sauce.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was such a weird.
That's an Aussie term for getting drunk.
Yeah, no, we used to say sauced in the 90s here. That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Oh, you got sauced. You got really drunk. Yeah. So
you know what we say here now, and I think I'm allowed one F-bomb without us getting blocked. We call it getting fuck-eyed.
Oh.
Get drunk, you're getting fuck-eyed.
Interesting. I think that's what all the women in this episode did.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm getting F-eyed. Hey, Data.
Yeah, so that was weird. And then the Beverly romance with Picard. I guess this is what kicked off the making of Jack Crusher in the future. This is the genesis of all that, which I thought was kind of interesting. And
so you think that they're doing it?
Oh, like
they're doing the Discovery Channel pretty early on.
Yeah, I think this is what kindled that. And I was like, you know what? I kind of like that redhead down my.
I don't know if they were doing the horizontal mambo.
I think this was the thing that started it. I think this is what kindled it. It's like, Beverly, you truly cured that virus.
Of a man in so long.
Yeah. There's a comment about that from my figure. I'll pull that up. Let's see.
I thought the comment about you owe me is weird. It's like he owes you because his husband died. What?
Yeah, that was weird. Nothing summed up how bad it was. Better than Beverly Crusher saying that she's been without the touch of a man for so long. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, that was wicked weird. I don't know.
I have to say though, Patrick Stewart was hilarious in that scene. Whenever he leans in and he goes,
yeah,
one of the great deliveries, isn't it? One of the great deliveries.
He has so many great deliveries and just these little idiosyncrasies in this episode. Last week I talked about whenever he enters sickbay, he does this little skip. Yeah, and there's this one part whenever he's talking to Beverly and she's getting closer and closer to him, and he's like, "Doctor, you and I have to get it together." Just this weird laugh. I'm just like, I don't know what that was, but that was hilarious.
Yeah,
that's an actor making choices, good choices with a pretty feeble script.
Excellent choices.